I'm Richard Spiegel. I studied poetry when I was a student at Syracuse University back in the mid 60s and began writing poetry while I taught English to West African students during my uh, service as a Peace Corps volunteer. Also in the late 60s and in the early 70s, I published a book of poems in London, England, and went around hawking the book at street corners and parks and read at coffee houses and poetry clubs. And I have been involved with poetry all my life and spent a good deal of it teaching poetry to students in New York City who were attending alternative high schools, and that meant teaching in prison and in literacy centers and in hospitals. And I believe strongly in the social uses of art, not in creating art in an ivory tower, although I can understand why people find that interesting or would want to do that. As far as my favorite poets, I enjoy many poems. I've been reading William Matthews recently. I was in Washington when he was uh, chairing the literature panel at the National Endowment for the Arts in 1979. I also like Muriel Rukeyser, who was also on that panel. I have been taken by the poetry of Lola Ridge from the 1920s. I have very eclectic and wide tastes in poetry. The magazine I publish now is a little poetry magazine called Waterways, Poetry in the Mainstream. My wife, Barbara Fisher, and I have published this magazine 11 times a year since 1979, and have published many poets, and I am now working on a index of the poets that we've published. Curious. That's why I'm here. And because I really love poetry.